44 billion imported, 2.9 billion export, a deficit of over 41 billion. That is your economy. It cannot take the country anywhere. We are ready to move as a leadership to engage in a countrywide tour, starting from the 20th of October up to the 31st, that we have participated in the 2021 presidential elections, 2022 National Assembly, 2023 local government, and that is the end of a cycle. Sovereignty resides in each of us. It is elementary knowledge that the wealth of the nation belongs to us.
This is another important conference and the state of the country. Without much ado, I'll just hand over the microphone to Khalifa. I'm very sorry for the delay too. I don't have the floor.
Good afternoon, media practitioners. I hope when I'm returning, you will join me and see my street. And then afterwards, you'll get an explanation why what happened. Anybody who cares to know is invited, and we can go together. We have called you here today, not for an ordinary purpose. This is the beginning of another stage of development of PDOIS in reaction to another stage of development of the Republic of the Gambia. Countries, parties develop in stages, and they do in reaction to the necessities and urgencies of our times. But they also do as a result of strategic decisions. We, as a party, had to understand the country we live in. Our members chose to sign a contract with country and people. And to this day, that contract has not been breached. We saw the need to take the country through the stages that the level of consciousness of the people demanded. And that is why in 2016, we became part and parcel of Coalition 2016 in order to effect a change in the country that had never happened since 1965. Many people will tell you politics is about numbers. However, it is important to tell you that no single opposition party can teach lessons of how to change governments through numbers. Gambia had never changed through support by the people of a single opposition party to come to office. The only change that ever happened is the change brought about by a coalition in 2016. And the architects of that change must also be known, not to exclude members of PDOIS. So at least we know how to effect change. And we took back in bringing it about and played a major role in ensuring that it happened. Therefore, if we come back to you and tell you that we have capacity to effect change, the facts are there to back our assertion. We are convinced that that change was just a stage. The purpose it served was to break that belief in the Gambian people that they were powerless, they were helpless, they never had the power or authority to be able to change governments. That myth has been destroyed. That is why, as a party, in 2021, we saw the need to go back to the Gambian people to tell them what we believe would be the way to eradicate their poverty. We are convinced that Gambia has to become a freer, fairer, and better society. We are convinced that the objective of every country is to ensure that your people are well fed, that they have clean drinking water, and they are properly housed. Food, water, and security constitute the basis of building human civilization. Any people that cannot provide that to a people cannot possibly live on the face of this earth in prosperity and liberty. That is why it is the cornerstone of the programs of this party to ensure that every Gambian has food of adequate quantity and adequate quality, to have proper clean drinking water, and to be properly housed. That is the cornerstone of our program. We are convinced that 2021, we sought to give the people an option of how to eradicate the poverty in the country, eradicate ignorance, eradicate any form of injustice that they may have been subjected to. But the results reveal that they did not vote for us to take charge of the affairs of this nation. Why didn't they do so? Is it that they did not appreciate the candidate? Is it that they did not appreciate the program? Is it that they did not understand the program? Those are fundamental questions we as a party had to address. And therefore, we decided to look inwards, try to build the foundation that will enable us to come up to the Gambian people again and engage you. We have done that. The party is ready to move after careful consideration of all those factors that requires development in this country. And the fundamental lesson that we want to share with you is we are convinced that the people are not satisfied with the change that took place in 2016. and its aftermath. Since they are not satisfied, it is for them to tell us why they are not satisfied and what type of Gambia they want. When they answer that question, they will also know the type of leadership they want. That is where we are. And that is the foundation, the basis of holding this press conference. We are ready to move as a leadership to engage in a countrywide tour starting from the 20th of October up to the 31st to meet our members, to meet the leadership of the party in the regions, as well as the citizens of the country, to engage in a national conversation on the future of this country and what we need to do to enable the Gambian people to take charge of their country. Because we are convinced of one thing, that those who control power should not be subjected to tyranny. Those who own the wealth of countries should not live in poverty. That is incontrovertible. You control power. You should not live under tyranny. You control the wealth of a country. You should not live under poverty. Since the sovereign people of the Gambia control the power of the country, they are the ones who put people in office. It is our duty to remind them that the power they have is the power that determines what Gambia becomes. Therefore, principally, it is their time to decide. It is our duty to inform, but it is their duty to decide. And people who make decisions must get sound information that will be the basis of making such decisions. Nothing is more important than the life of our people, millions of people, 2.7 million people. It is our duty, therefore, to engage the people, to enable them to have the type of information that will enable them to decide what type of country and what type of leadership. We have the information. We are clear that sovereignty resides in our people. That is elementary knowledge, that sovereignty resides in each of us. It is elementary knowledge that the wealth of the nation belongs to us. That is socialism proper. We own the wealth of the nation as a sovereign people of the Gambia. How do we benefit, each of us, is the fundamental question. That requires knowledge, that requires program. Therefore, every Gambian should be asking every political party that the power of the nation belongs to us, the wealth of the nation belongs to us. How do you intend to govern? If you will entrust that power to you, if we entrust that wealth to you, for you to govern so that we can live in liberty, for you to govern so that we can live in prosperity. That is the fundamental question that all Gambians should ask every person who appears, every party who appears, to want you to entrust your power and wealth to them. Doi has answered these two questions. It affirms that looking at where we came from, we understand why we are poor. Why are we poor? We are told that we, as a country, just give you statistics, in 2022, imported $44 billion worth of goods. 44 billion. And we could only export, minus the re-export, $1.2 billion worth of goods. And re-export 1.7 billion. Total 2.9 billion. 44 billion imported, 2.9 billion export. A deficit of over 41 billion. You cannot carry yourself in the world. That is the fact. You don't even have money to be able to bring goods into the country. That is the fact. That is why 2023, $59 million had to be put as balance of payment support in order to facilitate the importation of goods in the country. And that is why every year the IMF will tell you how much it gives as balance of payment support, because you cannot carry yourself in the world. And you continue to become indebted year after year. And why can't you carry yourself in the world? Because you are not producing what the country needs and what the country can export. Just look at these facts. In terms of vegetables alone, 171 million imported. In terms of potatoes, 28 million. Onions, 81 million. Rice, 2.0 billion. We look at other things like eggs, 112 million. Milk, 500 million. You're talking about millions, over 3 billion that you just spend on food import that you can produce for yourself. And if you were to talk to the Minister of Agriculture, he will say, yes, we have all these projects for small ruminants, all these projects for rice value chain, all these projects roots, total up to about 2 billion in 2024. That will be received from the ADB, from the World Bank, all sorts of projects. But we heard of the GCAF, we heard of NEMA, with billions, over 4 billion, 5 billion projects, claiming that this will change the architecture of farming in the country. And if you talk to them, they talk about commercial farming. But how will the commercial farming impact on the farmers of the country? Who are the farmers of the country? What are they producing? Why is it that they cannot produce what we need? And you hear them with the slogan, eat what we grow, grow what we eat. Is that how an economy works? You just grow what you eat. And you grow what you are growing, you need fertilizer, you need seeds, you need farming implements that you are not producing. How will you grow without importing those ones? That's not how an economy works. The economy can only work if all the sectors of production work. We must make agriculture to work. We must make industry to work. We must make services to work. At the moment, they are not working. Agriculture, 18% of GDP, but we cannot produce the food we eat. Industry, they will tell you, is construction, quarrying, mining. But you look at the statistics, you don't see the minerals. just a drop, they will mention all there as if they are disguising what is what. So you don't see any clear perspective of what minerals were exported, what manufactured goods were exported. So therefore, industrialization is at a very low level. They reduce it to construction. And when we come to services, it's wholesale, goods we import, wholesale, and tourism. Retail, wholesale, tourism. That is your economy. It cannot take the country anywhere. It didn't yesterday, it will not today. And unless you bring about system change, it will not happen tomorrow. That is what we are out to tell you with facts. We are convinced that the problem can be solved, not only can, but must be solved. Africa, Gambia cannot be the beggars of the human race. We are convinced that we have capacity to change the destiny of this country. We are convinced that in agriculture, we can get the farmers to continue to own their land, and we can have a cooperative bank that will give them the seed, fertilizer, and farming implements they need to be able to produce enough rice. The fact is evident. Over 550,000 hectares of arable land. All you need from that to be able to produce 300,000 tons of rice is only 60,000 hectares. We have it, we can produce it. By giving the producers, those who are expert in production, the seed farming implements and fertilizer that they need. So in that respect, there is a solution. And we'll continue to debate with other political parties regarding our point, and also our citizens regarding our point. We are convinced that the fruits that are now being exported, not by taking what comes from the farms of our people, but we have commercial farms producing fruits. We are convinced that our people can produce those fruits. And all they need is to be supported. The banana, the oranges, everything, mangoes, they can produce it. All they need is support. And we are determined for that to happen so that the wealth will go to uplift their condition. Because how do you uplift the condition of the people? We are convinced that this value chain that they are talking about, where you use 180 hectares there, 80 hectares there, will not be so commercialized to eradicate our people from poverty. What we envisage, and you can see the whole way the educational system is currently configured. They will tell you we are engaged in technical training, fine. There will be many technical schools, a lot of technical training. But I sympathize with the teachers, with the administrators, with even the policymakers who steadily see the need for our people to be empowered with technical education. But that's not how it works. A technical education that is not rooted in production will only give you people with knowledge and experience and know-how without any means to apply it. In order for technical education to serve the purpose, it is important to find out what our people are actually doing with their products. How are they to process it? What machines do they need to process it? What labor-saving devices in the houses and homes for the women? How do we want appropriate technology to be able to produce all the things that we need to consume? The technology is there. So when we are building partnership with other countries, that is the type of partnership we build. To know what we have, how to process our rice, our coos into flour with low level of technology, appropriate technology. We integrate that appropriate technology so that that appropriate technology will be able to process all the things that we need. Therefore, the 500 million we spend on milk, etc., milk products, will be able to produce ourselves. And it goes, the chain goes. That's what the value chain is all about. Move from agricultural production to processing. But this has to be done in a very systematic and organized way, based on your production capacities. That's what we are saying. And you see, look at the manifesto, that's what it's saying, that we will check everything that is available in terms of labor-saving devices and production schemes and machines. Then we start finding which countries produce them, the modern level of development of those products, because you can get all these machines and you cannot even find spare parts after they have problems. All this is poor planning. We're saying that's what we are going to do because we have the knowledge base, so that we will train those people, link to those machines our people are going to use, link to those countries who are ready to accompany us in our development. That's when a value chain can actually function. Of course, at the end of that value chain, you get people who will be marketing the products. So therefore, this society will start to work. People will have employment, self-employment. And we will have the goods we need. We don't need to import them. In fact, we will produce them and even export. That's how an economy works. These people are not prepared. Not this government, not this past government, not even the government of the First Republic. And Doi has been repeating this over and over again. But have you heard, as a people, what Doi has been saying? You look at the issue of industrialization. That's what processing is all about. We have the old GPMB, transform over and over again, GGC, transform again. But then where are the soap-making devices there? The oil that we need to consume locally. The cotton that we could transform into different types of yarn and cloth. What are we producing? Absolutely nothing. And that's what Doi is talking about. We must have large-scale industrialization based on our capacity, but small-scale industrialization, processing to meet the needs of our population, and the two would be linked. We're saying in terms of services, look at the area of tourism. We are told that we had almost 137,000 tourists in the Gambia in 2023. 137,000. But how are they linked to our economy? We have people all over, as we have always said, with skills, handicrafts, which reflects cultural competence. Some produce this local cloth, which can be transformed into tablecloths, into towels, into all sorts of handiworks for the hotels, for society at large, for tourists who come. We have different forms of craft in terms of using pottery. Such craft can be said to be disappearing. because the productive base is not responding to the demands of their circumstances. That's what we are saying, that we would have prepared all these areas of production, know the quantity that could be produced, know the number of tourists who are coming, market. That's when you talk about marketing tourism, that's what marketing, you must market something. You just don't go and market sand and sea. For centuries, that's what we've been doing. What has it benefit us? You must market the culture, you must market the people, their capacity. Not, I'm sorry for saying marketing, but you must market the culture in such a way that the people will be able to build up their ability to do things, to craft things, and build things, and earn. That is what we are talking about. So this message that we have decided to give you today is simply the beginning of a national conversation on the way forward for the Gambia. We'll be training our membership, we'll be training our leadership, and we wish to share knowledge with the citizens of this country. As of now, we would want to open up that national conversation. We'll be holding symposia, community meetings, different type of engagements with all communities, whether they are farmers, whether they are workers, whether they are women, craftswomen, whether they are seamstress, whatever their volition, whatever their craft, we are going to be engaged and show how that craft can ultimately lead you to prosperity in your homeland. We will engage for people to know the power that they have, so that they know that they are not slaves who should be sold to the biggest buyer. We must know that that power we have is not meant for sale. It's meant to be entrusted. And it will be entrusted by leaders, because you are actually the leaders of the nation. It is your mindset that gives us leaders. So you are the leaders. Your choice will determine what Gambia becomes. So it is time for each of us to ensure that we take charge of the destiny of our homeland and have the same sense of responsibility that we are demanding of those who are leading, because we put them in the position to lead. We must ensure that we have that same sense of responsibility in determining leadership, because we determine the type of leaders that we have. Many issues are being discussed all over the country. And I am to tell you our position on some of these issues. One is, in fact, the very basis of the existence of this nation, and that is its constitution. You cannot have a republic without a constitution. And we are the makers of the constitution. We've gone through a history of the people merely being spectators of the political process, where we had a 1965 constitution that most people knew nothing about. 1970 constitution that most people, including those who are highly educated, knew nothing about. And a 1997 constitution where at least some sensitization took place, but almost 70% of the population could not tell you its content. And suddenly, we talked about constitutional change and consultation, national consultation taking place on constitutional matters. But we have never reached the level of consensus on what the Constitution should contain. We as a people must now refuse to be alienated from what we own. Constitution determines how we are governed. It is now time for us to open up this national conversation on the constitution building process. Where we are is evident. A CRC was established and it carried out its work from 2018 to 2020. Although a mandate was given of 18 months, it requested for 6 more months and it was given, and it carried its mandate to the full. It brought its draft to the president and published it untouched, and it was subjected to the process of promulgation up to the level of the National Assembly. What is very clear to all Gambians is that in bringing a constitution for promulgation, the draft must be published in the Gazette for 3 months, and then after the 3 months, a second publication for no less than 10 days, and after that, it will be brought to the National Assembly. And it goes through readings. It goes through the first reading, and then the second reading, you debate the principles. When that CRC draft was brought as a bill, it could not pass that second reading because it required a 3/4 majority of all the members of the National Assembly. It could not get 3/4 majority, even though it had more members supporting than opposing. That's what should be understood. What you should also understand is that after a bill passes the second stage, second reading, it goes to a committee stage when all the members will have the opportunity to express their opinions, and all citizens will have the opportunity to express their opinions. The committee can even hold all sorts of hearings, public hearings, just to get the mind of everybody on the subject matter. That is the process that a bill should take, a debate. Unfortunately, the CRC draft that came as a bill did not pass that second reading and did not go to the committee stage. That is what is known to all of us. After that, procrastination after procrastination, because we knew what could be done to cure it. And we tried that. The only way it could have been cured is to revoke the decision that was taken. And a motion was made in that parliament for permit to be given to make the motion for that revocation. It was never given. And that's when that process became dead. That was the end of it. And Doi continued, we did not participate in any of their meetings, except one where we went to tell them that you are wasting the time of the nation. The thing that you're talking about is dead. We must now talk about procedure and content and see how to ensure that we come up with a new process of building the Constitution. So it is important for you to understand that this party has always been guiding the nation on how we should move with the constitution building process. First, by indicating that we could have changed the constitution without going through this long and elaborate process, by looking at the enshrined clauses which require referendum, and we put them together and take them to a referendum, non-enshrined clauses which the National Assembly could change, and then we change it at the level of the National Assembly. But even though they did not accept the ideas we gave them, we did not also say that what we said must happen. They came up with new, we supported them. Came up with new, we supported them. So anytime they come up with something that is in the interest of the nation, we speak and we give our support. But the CRC draft, no matter what its weaknesses may have been, is not something that could have just passed like that without scrutiny. Those who disagreed with any of its content could have actually made recommendations for amendments at the consideration stage. That is where we are at the moment, a constitutional impasse where instead, and recommendations were given, instead of the state constituting a committee, constitutional review committee, that will talk to everybody again, explain the 1997 constitution to people, explain the CRC draft, and then seek opinion, provide report to the executive as well as to parliament and the public at large in a national validation exercise. And then we agree on what procedure and what content we are going to work on to bring about a constitution of the Third Republic. That's what consultation should have given rise to. That consultation did not take place. They brought a draft, published it, and that draft is what is now in the public space. What are we to do with it? That is the question. The inevitable is what we are here to tell you. It is inevitable that after the 3 months, that bill will be again published for the second time. And after that, it will be brought to the National Assembly for the first reading. After that, it will go to the second reading. What are the National Assembly members going to do? If we say we don't want it, how do you show that you don't want it? That is the question. Anybody who says they don't want that constitution, how do you say that you don't want it? How do you prevent it from being what you don't want? When we say knowledge, that is what it requires, to know what should happen. And no Gambian should be in the dark about this. What we are out to tell you is that if they bring this bill to the National Assembly, it will have to go to the second reading. Yes, at the second reading, the National Assembly members could say, no, we don't support it. And it will be there just like the CRC bill. That's one thing that could happen. Is that what should happen? Would that be a sign of really being sovereign? What is being sovereign? Is having the authority and power to do something. We are telling you that the executive does not have sovereign authority to promulgate the constitution of a Third Republic. They don't have the responsibility. They just have the right to propose, full stop. They have the right to propose, full stop. It is the National Assembly members who have the right to dispose of the bill. They are the ones who can say that what is there can be changed. So therefore, all Gambians should be reviewing this bill. Review the CRC draft. You may even accuse them of plagiarizing the 1997 Constitution or the CRC draft. Accuse them of anything you wish. You may accuse them of not consulting. This is whatever you wish to say. You have freedom of speech, freedom of opinion to express your dissatisfaction with action that has been taken. But principally, if you want to have a mature opinion, you must read and understand all these documents and ask yourself, which clause is in line with the interests of the sovereign people of the Gambia, which clause should be seen to be fit to be in the constitution of a sovereign republic. And then that's what the National Assembly members should be told, and that's what they should argue, and that's what they should insist should be in that provision, or they will reject whatever is there that they do not approve. So it's like we are at the heart of building a new nation. Each of us must now become empowered. What had not happened in the past is what should happen now. To be involved. No one should accept to be excluded. This time we must not see constitutions as products of intellectuals with superior minds. We must see it as something that must come from us on how we are to govern, how we are to vote, what president should do for us, what National Assembly members should do, what council should do. This should be known to all of us. So this is now the opportunity to extend this conversation. And DOI is going to do that with its members, with its leaders, and the citizenry at large, if they wish to be a part. But DOI will establish fora of all sorts, the media, it will exploit every avenue to get the people to understand the 1997 Constitution and its history, the CRC draft of 2020, and the current cabinet draft of 2024. It will do that so that the people will be enlightened on the Constitution. But as far as procedure is concerned, the National Assembly members finally, after it is introduced in the Parliament, will have the total control of that document, and they can do with it whatever they want to do with it. We have seen certain developments that engulf the nation. The media, people being taken to court. You see, this is what we are saying. What is a government to do? How do we enhance freedom in a republic? Every citizen has a right to information. And the information must be based on facts and should be in the public interest. So once we seek information that is truthful, that is factual, that is in the public interest, we'll be enlightened. Once we give information that does the same, the nation will be enlightened. So the republic creates a contract between the citizens and those who give information. And that contract is inviolable and must be defended. And governments that respect that contract will not be worried because you will always pursue the fact. Suppose you say something about Uncle Sidia or Halifa, and or Halifa Saleh, and then Halifa Saleh responds, and the facts are known by the whole population. Why would Halifa Saleh be angry again? Because the fact is known. Once the fact is known, in fact, who is being indicted? The person who gave something that's not factual. So this whole issue of fake news and all this, well, what is important is to have a people who, when they hear the facts, they will believe in those facts. And that the battle will be battle between falsehood and truth. An uninformed people will be a people who could be misled. But it's an insult to tell an informed person that you have the capacity to mislead him or her. And that's what a sovereign nation is built of. Informed citizenry who no one can mislead, pursuing the truth in good faith in the public interest. That is what we need to build. And we hope those who govern today will bear that in mind, that if they have not built up that architecture of a country, then they will see the fact that what is happening because we have not done enough work to build the type of country we should build. But we are convinced that as Joy, that's why information is not something that we look at with eyes that ignore its importance. We are convinced that information is the lifeblood of a democratic nation. And that information must be transformed into knowledge and knowledge into way of life. That combination, that chain, that link of transformation, information into knowledge and knowledge into a way of life is why Toy says, know your country, know yourself, and know the world. It is important to conclude by addressing the issue of corruption. We must bear in mind what is politicization of issues and what is really the foundation of a country that wants to rid corruption from its whole operations and existence. As it stands, and we'll come to you to tell you the salaries that exist in this country. And you ask yourself the question, whether people can live on the basis of those salaries. Because a nation that intends to live on the basis of honesty must determine what it requires for citizens to survive, and must reward on the basis of the quantity and quality of work. And constantly you must come up with a salary commission to looking at the commodities that exist and how people should live, and then work towards ensuring that the person minimum earns what it requires to have food to eat, water to drink, and house to live in. That is absolutely essential. But what belongs to us in the public wealth, in the public coffers, belongs to us, and the laws are clear. Before money goes into the public purse, the law must say it should get there. Before it comes out of the public purse, the law must say it must come out of there. And the Auditor General is giving the responsibility to ensure that everything that goes in will be spent in the way that it should be spent according to law. Otherwise, that particular person will be considered to have fraudulently taken something from the state, and automatically, of course, the person has presumption of innocence, but the Inspector General of Police should carry out investigation. So essentially, the whole construct of the state is to ensure that public wealth goes to render public services. And it is the duty of the media to be able to hold government to account, and it's the duty of opposition parties to show what is wrong, and at the same time show, if they were there, what they would do to be able to ensure that public wealth would go to serve the public purse. I would emphasize that what is important now is to realize that first, second, third governments have really not strengthened the offices of Auditor General and give them the independence that is necessary, so that, and the supervision not by the executive, but supervision by reporting to commissions on an annual basis, so that they will do their work as required by the Constitution. Otherwise, they themselves will be found culpable. The checks and balances is what we must ensure that we strengthen for the system to be foolproof. There is no doubt, we have told you, that the local government structures that we are talking about at the village level, the budget of the village, the projects of the village, being taken on board to the regional level and bringing to the national level, so that when the budget is being allocated, it will go to the village through that regional process, will of course address the issue of corruption at that level. Because what should come to the village will be known by the village development committee, supervised by the village development committee, and who can then take resources from such a situation. So there is no doubt that the systems that we have are not really akin to be able to address the issue of wastage of public resources or fraudulently taking those resources from the public force. It's an issue of management and administration and development. Chair, we are now together preparing this next journey. And the journey is not going to be as it was. This is the final phase. And Gambians must understand why Doi has been saying, know your country and know the world. We've seen what is happening in Israel, Palestine, Russia, Ukraine. The world lacks leadership. When you select presidents of countries, they are leaders of the world. They go to the United Nations and speak. Are they being listened to? Should a country be proud of a leader who will go to the United Nations and speak and everybody disappears?
No way.
Or you go and talk and nobody knows what you have said. Or you go and you do not help to solve the problems of Africa or the world. So why is the world the way it is today? Should be a question that all of us should ask. The world needs leaders. Africa needs leaders. These leaders must come from nations. So the people of the world have a responsibility. There is absolutely no doubt that if you look at Israel and Palestine, what happened? Hamas is not a government. Palestine is yet to be a state fully recognized to function as a normal state. There is a reason, and you will be reading, a book is being produced on that so that we will know exactly what happened. This is not a forum to be able to, but you will see that America created Israel, and the resolution also created Palestine. But if you follow their history, you will see that at the level of the League of Nations, only Palestine existed. And Palestine as a country should have been given the right to self-determination and independence. But then, because the Jews were oppressed, terribly oppressed, in fact, they are doing injustice to their history. Because they were terribly oppressed, they could have been the moral guarantors of any struggle against injustice because of the injustice perpetrated against them. So they came to Israel in order to seek refuge, empowered by America to find a state, to found a state. But instead of America also proceeding to get Palestine to be a state, they ended up having governments after government which refused to recognize the existence of the Palestinians. That is the cause of the problem. And when you oppress people, this is what happens. So you can see what happened on October 7, where Hamas did what it did, atrocities undoubtedly, but then we are saying Why didn't you take that as a law and order problem and call on the Palestinian Authority that this group of people who did this must be seen to have done this particular act, just like somebody was trying to shoot the president of America? Why didn't you take it as a law and order problem? And then the whole world would have tried to solve the problem, yes, but also tell you, unless you ensure that the Palestinians have their state, you will continue to not to be able to live in peace. That is the fact. But the world lacked that leadership. So today, they have destroyed the whole of Gaza. They are moving into Lebanon, and no one appears to have the capacity to be able to stop them. So where is world order of good neighborliness and peace? It does not exist. But we are saying that if we have leaders who would be able to come in the public forum and help to move the agenda forward, the ultimate solution is really to move the Palestinian people and the Israeli people from the hands of these people who are extremists. That is what is required, by demanding that there is a referendum in Israel and a referendum in Palestine for them to ask them whether they accept the two-state solution. Once they accept the two-state solution, then the people will decide. That is really ultimately what the solution would be. That is, the people of Palestine must be asked, the people of Israel must be asked for a two-state solution. The same thing with Ukraine. Russia is destroying, and Ukraine says it is fighting, but it is more and more of its territory is being taken. What is the solution? To have a peace agreement. Ensure that where Russia has not reached, at least will live in peace, and they build it up. And from their demand that those people who are now occupied territory would have the opportunity to discuss, engage in peace, to decide whether in the future they will not come back and stay as they would if Ukraine becomes really their homeland, as it should be, based on a government that accepts all of them, and Ukraine will be united. That is a way forward. So, Chair, I would say that we do have our views not only of the continent, but also of the world. And we must bear in mind that if the world is to serve Gambia and Gambia to serve the world, we, the Gambian people, must know ourselves, we must know our country, we must know the world, and we must have leaders who would show the same determination of knowing self, country, and the world in order to be able to shape a new destiny for our country, for our continent, and for the world as a whole. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Tomorrow, which is the well-being of a country's economy is not determined by its capacity to import, but rather by its capacity to export. This is very fundamental. And the second headline I would expect to see, knowing our history and the processes that we have gone through to destroy our culture, to destroy even our languages, I would expect that this has also come out in this exposition. Export your culture through your artifacts, which express the creative capacity of our people. These are very important considerations. Now, I will open the floor for questions. Anybody who wants to ask a question, please say your name and the media house or institution you represent. The floor is now open for questions. But please, somebody is looking at me, I know he is reminding himself that your questions must be
Somebody is there.
Based on the theme of this conference.
Someone is on the phone. Get up.
Yes? It's afternoon, of course.
Thank you. So this is Kewa Asumani. I work for the Alcamba Time. Thank you very much for giving me support. Honorable, I would like to briefly inform us from your recent trip in the diaspora where you met Gambians and GDY's members and workers. I'd like to briefly tell us what you have, during your engagements, what you have discussed with them. Second, you did talk about the constitutional building process that is currently going on. I would like to know what, at this stage, what is your advice to the government in the best way to handle this process for the interest of some Gambians, as we all know that we need it. We need this constitution, and also the arrest and prosecution of Musa Sirif and Umar Justice Dabo. We want to know the position of PDYs, and also whether this, are we heading to, like other opposition leaders have said, that they are heading back to the dictatorship, tyranny and dictatorship as it is done before? Whether that is the same view PDY is also as far as this arrest and prosecution of journalists is concerned. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Yes, the Europe branch of the party did have their annual general meeting, and they wanted to hear from the party where we are, where the country is, and where do we go from here. It is very clear that we have participated in the 2021 presidential elections, 2022 National Assembly, 2023 local government, and that is the end of a cycle. And that is the post-coalition electoral cycle. That there is need for DOI to take stock and then prepare the ground for the next electoral cycle. And we've agreed that the people generally are saying that they are not satisfied with the outcome of the coalition process and its aftermath. That is a view expressed by many Gambians, that they want a better society than they now have. So we see that as a strength for DOI and as an opportunity for DOI, that we have offered them a different type of administration with different policies, with the anticipation that the outcome would be different. So there is a renewal within a camp that losing an election does not mean losing the battle. The election constitutes many battles in a positive way, not battle with guns, but battles to win the hearts and minds of the people. So there is no doubt that there is renewed confidence that the contract we signed with country and people should be maintained, if not to become stronger, so that we will inspire others to join this battle to make sure that we have a country that is fit for us to live in. We've looked at many issues around Africa, the world, and the condition of the people of African descent all over the world. We have seen Haiti, but we threw light on that history to show how people were taken from the continent and being held as hostages, called slaves, ultimately rebelled and took over those countries and transformed them into independent sovereign nations. That is a great accomplishment, and showed how people on the continent were subjugated, but eventually also became independent. So we felt that all this should be seen as strengths and opportunities that should bring us together again to work for the next phase of the African revolution, that is the phase to ensure the true economic emancipation, of Africa and all those countries where people of African descent are actually resident, and wherever Africans are all over the world, to be really light for positive change, for a more humane, for a better, a more prosperous world. That also had caught up in that dialogue. We've dealt with matters like the constitution building process, just as we have said, and you've raised the question. It's not an advice. I think you people can remember in 1996, there was a draft constitution, and what we did at that time, even though the parties were banned, and that's why some people felt that Doi was not banned, and some people still say that, even though they saw that UDP was registered, NRP was registered, APRC was registered. Did Doi just become a party without being registered? So sometimes you wonder why people invent these things, because they don't want to see our strength in times of difficulties. That, yes, to answer your question, 1996, we explained the Constitution for people to understand that it was not the best of constitutions. It had tremendous shortcomings. But at that material time, decrees constituted the supreme law of the country under Decree number 1 and Decree 30. So all laws had to be squashed if they contradicted any decree. So decrees then constituted the supreme law. And now you are being offered to have a constitution to be the supreme law. You say, no, let me continue for decrees to become the supreme law. That did not make sense. So now people can understand the logic, but then it was not fully understood. We are moving into the same situation. As you said, what advice do we give? The situation is this. The government in office definitely has tremendous authority and power in bringing bills to parliament and things of that nature. Well, that's the power they have. If you don't want them to have that power, remove them and put somebody else there. But once they are there, they have those powers to bring laws. But what is very fortunate with constitutions is that you cannot rush it. No matter what a government brings, it has to go through processes. And I don't think there is need to continue to repeat the process. The most important process would be passing the second stage and going to the committee stage for scrutiny. So the lack of consultation to build the constitution is there. But notwithstanding, still a constitution, a draft, a bill is there in the public space. The advice is, let's take it and compare its provisions with the 1997 and the 2020 draft. Then make up our minds as to which is better or even something new, knowing fully well that we can promote that agenda with the National Assembly members so that they will promote that for amendments to those clauses at the consideration stage. We still have that authority. And should the National Assembly members feel that after going through the committee stage and consideration stage, that the change effected were not acceptable, and they constitute the majority, or even 1/4 plus 1, they can still derail the process at the third reading. So the National Assembly members have extreme power to control the process before it gets to the referendum stage. That's number one. Now, at the referendum stage, we need the same thing. We need explanation and real clarity on the clauses. But that's more complicated because you need 50% of the voting population support voting, and then 75% supporting before it is promulgated. So really, it's a tight issue, and Gambians must take it seriously by engaging in this national conversation, not something emotionally charged, but intellectually inclined to really understand our constitution to be, if we accept it, or not to be, and throw it away. And maybe from that debate, we'll also know the points of unanimity and consensus, so that in the future, if it is even thrown, we may come up with that proposal of amending the entrenched clauses by taking it to a referendum where there is unanimity, and amending those through the National Assembly if there is unanimity. You know, that can come after the scrutiny. That may also be if it is thrown away at the third reading. At least we will know the points where we agree. I don't know whether that answers your question.
So now it's on the
Freedom of the
Yes. Well, essentially it is since the Gambia period, the journalists have really fought. You can see what happened during the coalition. This is a government that benefited from the media, because the media, especially the media outside of the portfolio of the state, really made what we said known to the whole world. So in that light, there should be tremendous tolerance. And as I have rightly said, in cases where people write certain things, well, the question is, are the people au fait with what they have written? Do they believe it? Has it harmed anyone? And that's where even apologies and things of that nature can come. But where something is written and it is refuted, you know, and the journalists publish what is refuted, what is there to fight again? Why would you want a matter to go to a court? What do you want to achieve? That is the question. So if we were the ones running the state, clearly all those issues of false news, etc., would not be criminalized, because it serves no purpose. And in actual fact, you can refute them if you are a state that have the clout to be able to speak and for the people to listen. So I am convinced, and we are convinced, that if they take a second thought to the actions, it may be amputated before it gets very far. But as a party, if you want us to believe that any government is so powerful as to be seen to be overbearing, I don't think you will be fair to us, because if we can remove the former government from office, I don't think anybody wants us to mystify the current government in any way by showing that it has the might to oppress. No, that's we will not go to that level. We've never even gone to that level with Jammeh. We always believe that it is the people who put them there, and in fact, it is the people who give them the opportunity to show any personal might. But governments are not really powerful because they rely on the people to exist. So it is important that those who are professionals, of course, will be careful about their professional integrity. I think that's more important, that when you put up a story, you will not want anybody to refute the story. That is the golden rule of journalism. It's not about fear of the state. That's why you're not published. Well, when you do that, there's censorship. But fear of stating what is not fact and be found to be wanting in what you have stated. That is really the golden rule. That's the virtue of journalism, that what I publish is the truth. Publish in good faith, in the public interest. Or I believed it to be true. But I made a mistake. It is proven that it's wrong, then you apologize and show that this was wrong. That's how journalism should be.
Name?
My name is Usman Jha. I'm a reporter for QTV. My question goes to Honorable again. I want to know more about the upcoming tour. You did mention that it's the final phase. So could you explain why it is the final phase?
Well, we are saying that the country needs system change. We have achieved regime change in 2016, and the people still claim, and bound by facts that we've just presented to you, we still cannot feed ourselves. So the change has occurred in 2016. So if there is to be another change, we do not expect a repetition of the past. We expect that the people would have learned from what has happened in the past and will be able to make decisions that finally will lead them to the type of society where they will live in liberty, dignity, and prosperity. That is why it is said that is the final phase, because there are only two possible forms of change: regime change and system change. They have tried regime change, it has not delivered what they want. So what is next? I think you can answer that. System change. So that's why we're saying it's the final phase. Yeah. Yes, indeed. And that's why they must decide, because the power belongs to them. So we are saying the tour is starting with our own community, and our own people may invite others, but it's starting to build our own community so that we'll be strong and we'll be resolved, we'll be clear how we communicate to the community. And from there, we believe that we'll build up that momentum to open up this conversation, this light conversation, and large conversation with the Gambian population, which the country now needs.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dan MCJ from Gambian Palestine. Honorable, you said like your party is ready to meet your community or your party supporters. During the past election, that is 2016 election, your role or the role of PIS was very crucial. So you have engaged the opposition or the those that are in the opposition to make sure that we have in the country. So I would like to know if the PIS is also ready again to make sure that after meeting your party supporters to also engage the opposition, so that we can at least have a change in the upcoming election. But like you said, in this other time, for it to be a more feasible plan, so that what happened in the past will not happen again. The issue of people are not, or you said people right now have no confidence in the current regime. That is the rules that you guys put in place, that is the 2016 coalition, some of them are not materialized. If there will be talks again, that the PRs will engage the opposition to make sure that there are talks with the opposition so that we can have another coalition and during the 2026 election, so that we will not have things that happen in the 2016 election, so that they will not repeat itself again.
Yes, you've said many things. Broadcast what you have said, but you broadcast what I have said. I am saying the people are not satisfied with the outcome of 2016 and post-2016. Is that clear? Yes. They are not satisfied with the outcome of 2016 and post-2016. If they are not satisfied, then what do they want? That's what we have said. And I hope, again, repeat, our indication that we have, the indication we have got from the Gambian people is that they are not satisfied with the outcome of 2016 and post-2016 political dispensation. I hope it will be quoted exactly like that. And now we are saying, if they are not satisfied, then what do they want? We had offered them something and they did not select us. So we cannot be arrogant to say that we have the answers. What we can say is, what do you want? And if they tell us what they want, we are also going to be telling them what we have. Maybe that dialogue will enable us to see eye to eye. They will see that what they want is what we have. That is the approach we are taking. Now, in terms of enlarging the conversation to involve political parties, well, that could always come, but you know exactly what the Elections Act says and what the Constitution says is that the political parties are established to promote their political, economic, social programs among the population and also win support and membership and so on. So in essence, the work that we must do immediately is to work with our community, build up, explain what we have for the Gambian people, and ultimately other things can come as the situation demands.
So, Honorable, if I just want to ask something like, is PDIS in position ready to build up another coalition with other opposition political parties, knowing the dissatisfaction among the Gambian people at this stage, looking at survival, schools, and a lot of things. Are you ready to pioneer another successful coalition to rescue the country from the current?
Well, I believe we have said, and it is unfortunate that the Gambian people who should be drawing the lessons are in fact putting us to sleep. They want us to go to sleep. And I don't know how a nation can be saved by putting your leaders to sleep. It is you who continue to tell us that we should learn from Senegal. You, the Gambian people, you say we should learn from Senegal. In 2016, we had this most powerful person in this country who the international community said cannot be removed. ECOWAS did not even bother to monitor the 2016 presidential election because they had already given report that it will not be free, fair, and it was a foregone conclusion. All the ambassadors had the same view. It is after we won that they embrace. They did not give us funds, they did not give us anything. It is after we won that the world embraced us. And by that time, the leader of the UDP was in prison. In Senegal, Sonko was released, Diomaye was released for them to participate in elections. Here, that person was in prison. We are the ones who facilitated his release from prison after victory. And Senegal, the incumbent did not participate. Here, the incumbent was there. Not only there, after losing, refused to go. We facilitated a change. As you rightly said, people were dissatisfied. Yes, we brought a change based on that dissatisfaction. And now people are telling us what? What are we to learn from Senegal? Their duty now is to build a nation that we said that 2016 did not build, outcome did not build, post-20 did not build. That is our critique of what had happened in the Gambia. That we have not succeeded in building the type of country people want. That has not been built in Senegal at this moment. They are now in that test that 2016 coalition was. And you are telling us to learn from them. What are we to learn? Now, what we have learned, and our eyes are open, is that we do not just bring people together out of dissatisfaction and effect change for its sake. That's what we've learned. We're saying, let's do things differently. Let's come back to you and ask you what you want. We could have been dead in 2016, 2017. And then monuments will be built to talk about our heroism, whilst your country will be in the same situation that it is now. So if you have heroes who will die for nothing and live for nothing, well, look for them. But don't look at this corner. People are ready to die and live for something. And that something is for you to tell us the type of society you want. And then the society will produce the type of leadership you want. That's what we are saying. Now let's engage in a national conversation all among us and talk about Gambia and how ultimately it can be removed from the poverty. Look at the indebtedness. Jawara left with 2 billion. Jammeh 46 billion in 2016. Now 110 billion indebtedness. And you just keep on blaming governments and not blaming those who put them in office. That will not happen again. Accept responsibility for the type of government that you put into office. Accept responsibility. It is time to hold the people to account and also hold the leaders to account. All of us must be held to account.